Honestly, I'm tired of repeating the same cycles. I wanna let it go. So here I go, life drop. Starting a new path for my fam. Finding who I am. Speaking life, loving me, even when I fall. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all.
Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Portia O, your host of Lifin podcast, and welcome to another installment of the podcast with me, because life be life in us all, okay? All right, so if this is your first time here, welcome. On this podcast, we talk about how life be over here, life in us, via all types of relationships, situations, and everyday things we are experiencing, all while in real time healing and learning how to be a better human being. So if that's what you're about, you're at the right place at the right time. Thank you so much for joining. And speaking of joining, let's hear from one of our sponsors, Shop Lene. Thank you, Shop Lene. We always appreciate you showing up, period. Y'all go support my girl at Shop Lene. Moving right along into hashtag Life Be Life in Us All, okay? Hey there, the village. Listen to my babies for the following instructions.
Hey, it's me, Portia, host of Life Be Life podcast. Podcast. Psych, it's me, Leo. Psych, it's me, Micah O. Please email my mommy or DM her with whatever you want to talk about. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because Life Be Life in us all. Bye. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Leah, Micah. Mommy loves you. So, next segment is I got some questions, y'all. If you don't know, I am very inquisitive, so I'm always asking questions, which can be good and or bad. But no, for real. I got some questions, y'all. So here are a few questions that I'm asking of myself throughout this episode. And I plan on answering throughout this episode as well. And before I start the questions, I'll just let you know that today's title of this episode is It Gets Too Heavy Sometimes, okay? As you know, this podcast is about all things concerning life. And life gets very heavy sometimes, too heavy sometimes, okay? And I know I'm not alone in that feeling. I know a lot of people are going through it. The holidays just passed, birthdays, celebrations, death anniversaries, like all types of things are happening and going on around us. Even currently, in our day-to-day lives, jobs are changing. It seems at times that life gets very, very heavy, too heavy sometimes. So you are not alone. You are not a monolith. You are not the only person experiencing these feelings and these thoughts and wondering, like, when is enough enough? Is it too much? You know, it gets too heavy sometimes, carrying the weight of family, carrying the weight of trying to be better and constantly being pulled back into whatever it was that was happening before. Setting healthy boundaries, it gets too heavy sometimes, okay? So this is what our episode is talking about today. And these are my questions concerning when you feel it gets too heavy sometimes. So first question is, who can help you during these difficult times? Do you have a safe haven? Do you have someone that you can talk to? Do you have a place that you can go to, that maybe it's a group of people or an individual person or a family member, loved one, therapist, life coach, whomever? Who can help you during these difficult times? Or do you just try to stay in isolation? Do you stay to yourself and hope for the best and be like, I can get through this. I'm going to make it through this by myself, because you feel ashamed. You feel alone. You feel like, again, I'm the only one that this is happening to. Everybody else seems to be living life. You know, I say all the time that social media is an illusion and people just show you their good moments most of the time. And that doesn't mean that that's every moment. That was a moment. That doesn't mean that's a consistent moment. That doesn't mean that their life is fulfilled and happy and all the things just because you saw that moment, right? It's very interesting. And I just want to know who can help you during these difficult times, okay? Next question. What does it typically feel like? What does it typically feel like for you to feel too heavy? Like, everybody knows their breaking points, or should know their breaking points. That's what we're working towards, right? Recognizing and being in tune with ourselves, to pay attention to ourselves enough to see like what is actually happening with you, right? I think a lot of us, if you are anything like me, get hyper focused on what's going on with other people and where they are in their mindsets, in their whatever, and trying to make sure that they're okay and showing up for them. And then you lose sight of you. You lose focus of doing those same things for yourself. So how do you know when it gets too heavy? How do you know when enough is enough? How do you know when, okay, I'm at my breaking point? I need something to give before the levees give and the water come flooding in. How do you know? What does that typically feel like for you? Does it feel like I'm just exhausted beyond belief? And I think a lot of times we mix up exhaustion just like, oh, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm physically tired. Like you're not getting enough sleep. And that can be true, but also it's a thing as being emotionally tired too. You're emotionally exhausted because you're always caring, thinking, analyzing, trying to figure out, carrying your stuff and other people's stuff. That is exhausting, not just physically, mentally, and emotionally. It is exhausting. So, what does it typically feel like for you? This is what this podcast is about. This is not about, woe is me, everybody does me. No, it's about what can I do to help me through whatever it is that you're experiencing. Okay? So, what does it typically feel like? You should know, you should be so in tune with your body. That's the goal, to know like, something ain't right. I'm a little off. It ain't giving what it needs to give. And your intuition and your spidey senses and everything be tingling, but we ignore them for other stuff or other things. We ignore them because we're so used to suppressing and repressing our feelings. We ignore them because I'm so hyper focused on everything else I got going on. I can't have time to focus on me. But baby, yes, you can. We are focusing on us. Top priority is me, because nothing else can be done or accomplished or anything without me, with all things concerning you, obviously, right? So if you're thinking about your family, if you're thinking about your kids, if you're thinking about your friends, if you're thinking about that job, if you're thinking about your career, your whatever, your business, whatever it is not going to continue in the manner that you think it should if you are unwell. I know everybody just saw the president or CEO, whoever, I don't know, of United Healthcare was assassinated a while ago. And they posted his job instantly. You hear me? Instantly. Like this man was murdered on camera and they posted his job instantly. Do you think they're thinking about his family? Do you think that they're thinking about all the things that he had to do and all that type of stuff? No. The stuff is still going to be there. But who going to take care of you? You. It's your job. You are top priority. You are the main focus. You are the main character. Shout out to Melissa Fredericks. I said Fredericks. Fredericks. Mrs. Kev on stage. Main character energy. Okay? And I know this world will make you feel like that's being selfish, but no. Nothing that you have on your to-do list can be accomplished without you. None of the things. If you're not here to accomplish them, then what is the list for? All the things still got to be done. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? When are you going to say, okay, you know what? I surrender. Hey, hey, God, yeah, I'm done. When is enough enough? We gotta be in tune to know when our breaking points are here. Knowing how it feels, knowing that you inching up on getting to that breaking point, and also recognizing this is my breaking point. It's too heavy. I can no longer carry this. When is enough enough? And the final question is, how often do you have these feelings? Are you in a constant state of it's too heavy? Are you in a constant state of despair? Are you in a constant state of, oh, I'm just always carrying this. I'm always feeling like this. When am I going to get some type of reprieve? When am I going to come up for air? When am I going to be able to see the sunshine, the light at the end of the tunnel? Like it's always been this way all my life. See, a lot of us have a negative mindset to the point that even though good things have happened to you, even though you have a lot of things to be grateful for, even though you can probably call out and name out 5, 6 things on your fingers right this moment, we are so hyper focused on the few negative things that have happened that we would basically describe our whole life to be a life of despair, a life of negativity, a life of struggle, a life of all of those things, opposed to looking at it like the glass half full. We constantly look at it like the glass half empty. And we hyper focus and stay in that state of mind for so long that we can't even see the little sprinkles of joy that has come into our atmosphere. Are you constantly in that state? And it reminds me of when I go to the doctor for my annual physical and they give me this little questionnaire. And it's basically to see if you are depressed, okay? And if they have something to be worried about, you know what I'm saying? And they ask you a bunch of questions about how you feel and are you safe and what's going on with you. And it's like, yes, or extreme, those type of questions. It's like the 5 answers is not sure or extreme or same or very low or very high, whatever it is, those type of questions. I know for some years past when I would fill it out, and because I work in the healthcare field, I know that this is a tool for them to like guide or gauge is the word, where you are mentally, right? And so if I don't want any problems, I'm not going to say that I have any problems. And that's just the honest to God truth. And some people just answer the questionnaire truthfully, which is fine. But for me, I know I don't want to set off any alarms or at that time, I didn't want to set off any alarms. So even if I was feeling some type of way, and the question asks, are you anxious most times, sometimes, all of the time? Or do you think something's going to happen to you most of the time, sometimes, all the time? I would curate my answer to be a turned down version, a very mild. I'll say sometimes. I would never say never. Never. Never do I have these feelings because that's unrealistic. We all have these feelings. So I'll say sometimes. Sometimes I change my answer to most times. Sometimes, and the more aware that I became of what I was going through and what I was feeling, and like, this is normal, Portia, so don't be ashamed of it. It's okay to say that you may need a little help or a little assistance or whatever. The more my answers changed, the more truthful I became because I was ready to accept the truth of my reality. And so, again, this is a depression gauge, essentially. And I started to be truthful and say, most of the time, I feel like this. Most of the time, I feel like that. And when it comes to the questions of self-harm and things like that, that's never been my story. But if it is your story, answer it truthfully. If you're ready to address it, if you're ready to deal with the things, answer it truthfully. Yes, I have thought about harming myself sometimes. That is concerning. And because these tools, these tests or evaluations are put in place for your doctors to help you, they will help you. And sometimes we don't like to ask for help because we don't want to disappoint our kids or our family, or we got to do this. I got to go to work. I got to provide. I got to figure this out. I get it. But when are you going to take care of you? When it gets too heavy. Sometimes it gets too heavy sometimes. Maybe they will admit you to observe you for a few hours. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe your doctor will provide you with resources to talk to a psychologist, a therapist, or someone. Maybe they will prescribe you medication to help with your mood. Your doctor, after that evaluation, they're supposed to ask you during your appointment, okay, so I see you put this on here. What's going on? They ask you questions. Doctors that care, they do. They ask you questions and they try to figure out, okay, so it sounds like this. It sounds like you may need a little helper. I could give you some medication to help you kind of get through your day. Don't be ashamed to utilize the resources that God has given us. If you don't want to take the chemical based drugs that doctors give, which I totally understand because I'm not team for that either, but you can find a more holistic way. Take your list of medications that your doctors prescribed you and said that you can take, and take it to a holistic doctor. And they will provide you the natural roots and plants and all the things to help the same way that that chemical medication will. There are resources in this land. God did not leave us on this earth with nothing. He gave us ample amount of resources. It's all about how much do you care to tap in, to find out, to discover, research, and get in tune with it. It's up to you. Because when it gets too heavy sometimes, we need to be able to help ourselves pull up out of it. We can't expect anybody else to do it. They are just resources. That's it. But you have to make a decision and a choice when enough is enough. I'm tired. I need help. I need to get a better perspective on this. I need to understand what chemical imbalance is happening within me. Is it a hormonal thing? What's going on? Why I'm in a constant state of despair? Moving into my next segment, this is just my life experience, okay? And this is why I share an interesting story with you about my life, okay? Simple as that. And so I will share this moment with you all that I recognized like I was in an absolute state of despair. And for those who know, I filed for divorce back in June or July of 2024. I filed before that, I think, maybe May. And I got my first court date, maybe July, something like that. And so I was so excited because I heard God clear as day while I had been debating, should I do this? Should I move forward? I was waiting for the other person to kind of tell me what they wanted to do. And we kept talking about it and no real movement happening with it. And I always said that if we weren't going to be together, I didn't want to be in bondage. Like, don't hold my life up being married and I can't be in a marriage. Like, that's not going to work for me. So I decided to finally, after long debating and trying to work with the other party with this, I decided to step outside of that and move forward after talking and consulting and praying with God and Him telling me to make the moves, take the steps, and He'll do the rest. And so, me actually filing the paperwork to the court system was me taking the steps. And now, because I had so many unanswered questions, I've never been through a divorce before. And I'm just like, well, I don't know what it entails, like what it looks like, how much money it's going to be. You know, I'm a single mom now. Like, anything that's going extra outside of my house is going out of my kid's mouth, essentially, for me. And so I'm looking like, man, I wasn't planning on doing this by myself, but here we are. Like, I have to move forward with this, right? And so I took the steps and I ended up being blessed even within that. And so I was super excited, like, man, we're going to have this court date. Like, even though I petitioned for the divorce and he's the defendant, we had agreed that, it wouldn't be no fighting over nothing. Like, it's no reason to fight over anything. Like, release my stuff to me, I release your stuff to you, and we can handle the rest with the courts. You know what I'm saying? And like, as far as the children are concerned, in Illinois, they don't have custody per se, like full custody. They just do what's best for the kids, essentially. And so, even though I wanted full custody, but that's not a thing that they do anymore. But I did, file my parenting plan within my divorce, stating that I'm going to have them 365 days of the year until anything changes with their father. He's more than welcome to have them as he please, but legally, they belong to me, okay? And nobody can do anything with them without my consent. And so, also, I did an order of child support, which was a major part for me as to, should I put this into the divorce? Like, the divorce has already been, that's happening. But the child support thing was a big hold up for me. Like, should I do that to him? Like, what does that look like? Or should I not? Like, it was a big debate within myself. And I came to the resolve that I should, because there has been a lot of broken promises and lack of follow-up. And so the best thing at this point is to just protect me and my children as best as I can. Me putting that order in was what that was for me. And so I did all the things. I made the decision. I filed the paperwork. I did what I was supposed to do. Now I'm waiting for God to work, and I'm just like super ecstatic. I'm like, yes, I got the date. I'm ready. Like, there should be no problems. This should go through seamlessly. Okay. And here I am setting my expectations for that. And I was super excited, and I got all dressed nice and, oh yeah, we about to do this, and got on the Zoom call. Like, yes, I was so ecstatic. I was counting down the days. Like, this is finally all about to be over, because it has gotten too heavy for me at times throughout this whole separation and pending divorce. You know what I'm saying? So to finally get to this point was major for me emotionally, mentally, everything. And so the first court date came. We signed in, and it was over within a blink of an eye. Not in the way that I wanted, though. Not in the way that I expected it to be. And the judge came, let us in, and was like, "Oh, he has to pay for his appearance, and he hasn't done that, so we can't move forward with this case. Your next court date is this. I'll give you 30 or 45 days to pay that fee. Until then, that's it." And I was like, "Wait, what? What?" And she was like, "If he don't pay that fee, you have to file him. I mean, you have to serve him properly." And I was like, "He was served. I e-served him. Like, he got the paperwork. That's why he's here today on the Zoom call. Like, he was served." No, the court needs you to pay a sheriff or a serve, whatever. I forget the name of the people now. Somebody to serve him. It's all about money. It's all about money. I thought I had took the right steps, the proper steps, and I thought that I had done everything that I was supposed to do. And to hear that was very crushing. And I got off that Zoom call and I felt defeated. I was in complete despair. Like, at least I thought. And so, but that is the first thing that came to my mind. Like, I'm done. Like, I've done all the things, God, you told me to take the steps. I took the steps, and this is what I get. This is the result. I was broken. I was so defeated that I cried and I cried and I cried. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, I have been talking to my friends for weeks about this and how excited I was, and like really standing in expectation that I was going to yield the result that I wanted in that moment. And when it didn't happen, I felt stupid. I felt dumb. I felt defeated. I felt like embarrassed. I felt like, oh my gosh, like, this is not finna be what you thought it was finna be, Portia. And I felt embarrassed for God. And I know that sounds wild, but I felt like, because I'm studies claiming, like, I heard him say do this, and I did it, and he gonna work it out. And, for it not to work out the way that I thought it was, then I felt like, well, I made God look stupid. Now how I'm going to stand on God said this, God said that, and then he said this and that, and then nothing happened from it. And I'm sitting over here looking like Boo-Boo the Fool. Like, why are you carrying that, Portia? That's not your responsibility. But that's how I felt. And I'm being honest with my feelings in that moment. And so my friends and stuff were calling me and texting me, and because they want to know, like, what's the results, what had happened, like, and I just was embarrassed. I was so sad and distraught, and I did not want to talk to anybody. I could not pull myself together to talk to anybody that day. I just couldn't. I ended up messaging all of them and letting them know, like, I couldn't do it today. Like, I have nothing else to give. But anyways, right before that, even, I was crying and crying and crying. And then he called me and, told me, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to do my part. I didn't know, whatever. We're going to get this resolved." And he was like, and I was trying not to cry while I was on the phone with him. And then he asked me, "Were you crying?" I was like, "Yes." And he was just saying he going to take care of it. Don't worry, whatever. The initial afterthought of it for me was like, you just set yourself up, like, for a certain way you thought this was going to happen. Like, and it didn't happen like that. But then immediately after that came the thought of, and it had to have been God telling me, like, your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. And this is a lesson in setting expectations that are on your terms and of your own fruition and not God's. See, we get caught up in that so much and then want to label it like it was God. But in reality, if you thought it, and I know I've said this before, but this is what the word says. If his thoughts and his ways are not like ours. So if you thought it, then it's probably not the way or the thought that God has, right? Like, and I don't think we get that fully in moments and in things when we're in situations. And so I sit up here and boop boop boop, push this up and elevated this thing to be some type of way because that's what Portia thought. But that's not what God thought. And that wasn't the way that he wanted it to play out. And he has a greater purpose and a greater mission with all of this. And so I quickly had to pull my spiritual self together and be like, instead of being upset with God because he said make the moves and I'll take the steps and I'll do the rest. Yes, he did, but he didn't say the rest would look like this, Portia. That was you. And so in my moment of despair, or what I thought was despair, I gathered myself spiritually and I was like, nope, I'm not going to allow this to destroy me. But my flesh, my emotions were down the drain. I could not pull that part together in that moment. I could not. I just kept crying. And so I took a video of myself, really for myself, and I had debated back and forth if I was going to share it. And I think I'm going to share it in this episode because I think it's very important to show our low moments just as much as our high moments, and to show that even me, someone who constantly is speaking, preaching, teaching, learning, and sharing what I have gained from my relationship with God and the experiences and the testimonies and all the things that I've been through with people to help other people be better and great as I'm helping myself be better and great. I too still fail. And not even just fail, but I too still feel. Like that's what this whole thing is about. It gets too heavy for me sometimes too. And I have the tools and the skill set and the certifications and the education, and I still feel like it's too heavy sometimes. And that's from anybody in this world. I don't care what the letters behind their name say. I don't care what their status is. We all feel like it gets too heavy sometimes. It may not look the same. It may not be on the same level, but we all go through it. And so I think it's so important to share moments that you feel like you're at your lowest and it is too heavy, so that people can understand you are not alone. And that's the whole premise of this podcast, to let other people know that you are not alone. And so I'm going to share this clip with you of me in a moment of what I thought to be despair. And what I did during this moment was listen to a song that God dropped in my spirit to help me through this moment. Here it is.
When the pains go in, but I know, God, you wouldn't put more on me than I can bear. So I trust you in spite of what I see, in spite of what I'm going through. I trust you. God, you never left me. I know you love me. That's why I trust you. Come on, now you take it up. I've had my heart broken. I made some mistakes. God, you still kept me. Oh,
I share things on my social media account because life be life in us all. And I wanted to share this moment, but I didn't want it to come off as disingenuous. Like, if you really are in a moment of despair and feeling like completely broken, why would you pick up a camera to record yourself, right? That's a thought that people will have. And so I didn't want people to be like, not you fake crying on here for views, right? And that was never my intention. And maybe those are the negative thoughts that the devil is dropping into my mind. Like, that's what they gonna say. You shouldn't post it. Da 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 da. But I really wanted to share it, like I said, because everything ain't sunshine and rainbows. Everything ain't me having good times or good days. And I've shared videos of me being vulnerable and speaking my truth and really showing up for myself. But also, I think it's important. I very rarely shown a broken down moment of myself. And even in this moment, like listening to those words, I trust you, though it's not easy. Sometimes the pain in my life makes you seem far away, like, but I trust you. It was so hard in that moment to trust God. My flesh, my emotions, my mental was like, God, I just don't know. I don't know. But my spirit, man, was like, no, we gotta trust. He told us to take the steps. He told us to do the things. Therefore, he's going to come through. It may not happen today as you expected it to, but it will happen. I trust you, even though I can't see, I can still feel your touch. I will trust you, Lord. How I love you so much. Like, ooh, that song, I'll trust you, though it's not easy. Sometimes the pain in my life makes you seem far away, but I'll trust you. I need to know you're here through the tears and the pain, through the heartache and rain, through the tears and the pain, through the heartache and rain, through the tears and the pain, through the heartache and rain. I will, I will, I must trust you. Woo, Jesus. I'm getting emotional now because that song, like, I just heard God say, play this song. And it was exactly what I needed in that moment. Because when I tell you I was so broken, and I've had many a moments of brokenness, and I just felt like it gets too heavy. But God, like, I have to trust you even in these moments of despair. And I thought it important to add a little of did you know in this section of this segment. Because if you didn't know, your girl is here to tell you. And this is what I recently learned, that despair, defining despair, because I felt like I was in despair in that moment, but I really didn't truly know what despair meant. But it means, which is the complete loss or absence of hope. Or to lose or be without hope. According to psychologytoday.com, we sometimes say we are in despair, but what we actually mean is that we need or want something strongly and urgently. Jesus. If the person who wants something strongly and urgently still has hope despite perhaps a few unsuccessful attempts at securing the desired good, that person may feel desperate but not despair. Okay? The person in despair, by contrast, has not simply lost hope, but judges the pain of the current situation to be intolerable. There is no prospect for a better future, for sunnier days, but neither can be continued like this. It is precisely this subjective sense that the cross of life has become too heavy to bear, that one does not have enough to fight left within. That is what we call despair. All right. And so, even though in that moment I felt like I had lost all, like, everything, and maybe for a very minor moment, I felt like I had lost hope that this was ever going to end. Like, because I feel like I've been in a terrible dream or nightmare for the last 3 years, dealing with this. And when it didn't happen the way I thought it should happen, it felt like despair for me. But in reality, it wasn't despair, it was desperation. Because I strongly and urgently wanted this thing to be done so that I could be released, so that I could feel free, so that I could be, I don't know, like the expectation is that this burden would be lifted up off of me and I wouldn't feel burdened to be a wife any longer. Maybe it would help me, my perspective to shift. Maybe it would help my emotions to heal more if I just get this desired thing accomplished. Child, listen. But it didn't happen that way. But the reality is, I had a moment of despair, but it wasn't complete loss of hope. Because if it was, I wouldn't have been able to hear the voice of God tell me to play that song talking about how much I trust him. I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. And there's me even having the thought and the wherewithal to play that song was some semblance of hope. Therefore, it is not despair. I did not have a complete loss of hope because I still hoped that God was going to carry me through this as he has been already. And so I didn't categorize it or describe it in a technical sense that it should have been. It wasn't despair. And maybe it was just a moment, but I quickly pulled myself out of despair and brought it to surrendering. I'm laying it at your feet, God. I'm back here prostrate before you, giving it to you, believing that even though this hurts so bad, even though my feelings are just like shredded, like I still trust you. I'm still choosing to believe that you are in control, that you will take care of me, that you have taken care of me. And even though this doesn't feel good in this moment, I know that I will be okay eventually. And it was good that I took that day to not talk about my feelings because I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I'm pretty sure it is because I'm not a singular person who's only feeling these things. But a lot of times when I have really high emotions and feelings, I like to go to other people with the expectation, low key, that they're going to help me process through this. When in reality, all you need is God. I'm not saying that you can't go to people and lay your things at their feet. You can. But also, sometimes we need to sit in that stuff. Not sometimes. We do need to sit in those feelings, those emotions, and really just like feel that. Really sit there and feel it and really like process it And you can be mad. You can be angry. You can be disappointed. You can be broken. You can feel all the stuff with just you. Because sometimes when we go to our friends and our loved ones who mean well for us, obviously, but then they jump on the bandwagon of, yeah, like an angry mob going to get Frankenstein's monster. Like, yeah, let's get the pitchforks. Let's, like, and okay, cool sometimes, but that don't need to be where you need to be all the time. Like, that's not where your energy needs to be all the time. Sometimes you just need to sit in it, really feel it, process it. And I still had to work that day. I still had to show up for my kids that day, even though I was emotionally drained. I couldn't talk to my mom. I couldn't talk to none of my friends. I couldn't talk to nobody. But my kids didn't require for me to talk to them about that, right? And I'm sure my loved ones wouldn't have had either. Like, if I would have said I don't want to talk about it, they would have been like, okay, when you're ready, we can talk about it. That's cool. But it was just like I'm so used to dumping on people what I'm feeling because that's what we do with each other. But I just didn't want to do any of that. Like, I just sat in those feelings and I sat in my trusting of God, but I still let my emotions reign and just like pour out, pour out. Whether it was crying, I was crying all day off and on. Even after hearing, that song, my body was still reacting. And I just sat in that all that day. And I owed it to myself because it wasn't just that one action that had happened that day that led me to that moment. It had been a build up of things. It was like all this stuff was flooding in at once on me, and I just needed to release it. I needed to just sit there and feel it. I needed to just be in those emotions. And that is okay because it gets too heavy sometimes. And that was the way for me to take care of Portia in that moment. For that time. Let it out, release, cry out, lay prostrate, be mad, tell God how you feel. Take care of yourself, whatever that looks like. And that's what I did. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself. Because had I had to tell that story that day, tell my friends what happened over and over and over again that day, I would have been hoarse. I would have been pissed I wouldn't have been able to calm my emotions. I wouldn't have been able to talk. I would have been crying so bad that I could barely get my words out. So I'm glad that I had strength enough to not even engage in that and just kind of like pull myself back and just sit with Portia. And then I had received a very nice surprise, 2 surprises that day. I had some flowers delivered to me that I was not in expectation of. I had some food delivered to my house by my best friend Kendra and my best friend Denton. Like, I was not in expectation of that. Like, they took that off my plate that I didn't have to cook that night for my family. Like, and these were things that was just felt because they know me and they know how, like, I would have talked if I could, but I couldn't. And they still showed up for me. See, sometimes we don't have to say everything at once. Sometimes we don't have to share all the things as soon as it happens. And that's something I'm learning for sure. Because I can have vomit at the mouth at times to the point like I just want to share. But all I shared was that I didn't have the capacity today to talk about it. And each and every one of the people I told that understood and sent prayers. And I really sincerely believe that they prayed for me because I felt it. I felt it spiritually being uplifted, even though I was physically, mentally, and emotionally broken. I still felt the love, the warmth. I felt the hope that it's not going to always be like this. This was a day today, but tomorrow is a new one. Even as the day progressed, it got better. Even though I was drained, it still got better. I had to really sit in that, and I really was talking with myself and God all that day. And I was like, I just feel like I be taking so many steps forward and I be being knocked backwards. And it leads to these feelings. And again, it's like a trick bag because it's like, God be like, girl, I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you that. You said that, okay? You. So, stop trying to be like, well, God, you told me to take the steps. And you said you was going to handle the rest. And did. And still doing it. Who told you it was going to happen in one day? Who told you it was going to happen overnight? Who told you it was going to happen within a year? Who told you it was going to happen within a few months? I didn't say that. I said I will handle the rest. His time is not my time. And whatever it is that I need to understand throughout all of this, I will. And I am. What I need to gain from this experience is coming out. I'm learning patience. I'm learning to adjust my expectations. I'm learning to not put Portia's thoughts onto God and receive whatever God has for me instead. And learning how to fully lean and depend on Him, trust in Him, and not in me. Just because I can be knowledgeable, I could use ChatGPT, Google, listen to other people's experiences and stuff. Yes, that's great. Good job. But also, Lord, it's in your hands. I surrender it all to you. I'm waving the white flag. Whatever it is that you have in store for me, however it is that you plan for it to come to pass, Lord, I leave it in your hands. I lay it at your feet. I believe, I trust, I desire for your will to be done, not mine. So if you want to continue it 4 to 6 months, 6 to 8 months, 8 to 10, 12 months, I believe that it is a purpose within all of it. I believe. I looked up some scripture about it. 2 Corinthians 4:8. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not despair, not in despair. We may be hard pressed on every side, but we are not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. So what I thought I wasn't. I was hard pressed. I was crushed. I was perplexed. That was for real me in that moment after that court date. But I was not in despair. The Apostle Paul in this scripture wrote this knowing it was like what it was like to suffer many hardships, but not despairing because his hope was in God. He was not despairing because his hope was in God. My hope remains in God. That's why I can't personally get so low that I want to take myself away from here. It gets too heavy sometimes. I get it. I understand how you can get there, but my hope remains in God no matter what. Today may be thunderstorms, clouds, shade. I can't see through it. I can't even fathom how I'm going to get out of this. But I still hope that tomorrow is going to be a new day. I still hope that at the end of this day, it's going to be better. I still hope. I still believe that part of me will never die, ever, no matter what I go through. And I've been through some stuff, but I will never get to the point that it just gets too heavy that I can't take it anymore, because that hope will always remain there, waiting for God to pull me up out. I believe that. He's done it too many times for me not to believe it. Yes, I've taken many steps forward. Yes, I've been knocked back 10 blocks. But guess what? I keep getting right back up. And I keep marching right forward. And I keep being blessed. I keep being elevated. I keep being given chance after chance, worthiness, pouring more and more joy, peace, happiness, all the things into me. I keep getting blessings on blessings on blessings. My bloodline is being blessed. That hope has to remain. It has to remain. It has to stay there. We have to believe that, yes, it gets too heavy sometimes, but this is not all the time. And even if you felt like it's all the time, you still have hope in God that He will bring you through. He will see you through. He will pull you out. He will bless you. He will take care of you. He will carry you. He will love on you. He will show up for you. He will give to you. He will do all the things that you need every single time. It may not happen the way that you think. It may not happen how you think. It may not happen when you think. But it will. That's the hope we have to hold on to. He will come through. And so I didn't even know, I remember this scripture, but I didn't even know, that was me in that moment. So moving right along to my next segment, which is shining some light on life, okay? Because we need that. This segment is where I shine some light on something I've enjoyed and support. We need to shine more light on the positive things in our life, opposed to just focusing on that negative, right? So let's shine some light on something. You think of something you can shine some light on, even in your state now, right? And this is something for me. My shining the light on life moment is pouring into me or pouring into you, okay? Pouring into you, pouring into yourself, which is like you reframing from thoughts. You pause and identify the negative thoughts by asking if this thought is true or false. This is something that I practice often. Because, again, we get so caught up in the negative and it don't even be true about yourself. So let's practice pausing and identifying the negative thoughts by asking if that thought is true or false. Then replace it with a constructive thought. Like, I know this is a hard or tough moment, and I'm allowed to have those moments, right? But it does not make me who I am. I'm allowed to have moments of despair or desperation or a strong urge of a desire. And when it don't come to fruition, it's okay. That doesn't make me who I am because I had those negative thoughts or I had those moments, right? That doesn't make me who I am. Acknowledge things you are grateful for in that same moment. Recognize how you feel and putting it into perspective that shifts the energy, okay? You are an energy shifter. Anywhere I go, I shift the energy in the space. Period. And I believe that. Another way that you can pour into you, you can move your body, okay? Doing something that makes you feel good. I've recognized how tense I am before I purposely move my body, and when I exercise or whatever, the yoga stretches and those moves relax that tension for me. All right? So I am so grateful that I decided to move my body and like get in tune with it, because I have noticed when I don't move my body, that little tension sits right there in those pain spots in my lower back and my shoulders and things like that. But when I move my body and I do those stretches and I do all the things, I be like brand new again. Like it be totally different. So I know it's easy to just sit there on your bottoms or lay down and be a bum. I get it. But no, move your body. This is a way that you can pour into you. Move your body, stretch, run, walk. Just move. Do some different movement than you're used to doing. Trust me, it's going to help you. It's going to make you feel better. Pour into you. Another way you can pour into you is by grounding yourself in the present moment, okay? Listen to some music that helps you through the moment. Like y'all saw in my video, I listened to that song to help me get through that moment. Did it completely reverse the effects of what I was feeling? No, but it helped me to hold on to my hope until God comes through. It helped me to remember, hey, even though this feel this way, I got you. You're going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Trust me. That's what God was saying, okay? So listen to some music that will help you get through those moments. Breathe some fresh air with purposeful breaths. We're so used to just breathing regularly because God gives us that. And some people don't even have that blessing to be able to breathe on their own. They have to use oxygen machines and things like that. We take so many little things for granted. Breathe with purposeful breaths. Go stand in some fresh air. If you've been locked up in your house all day or in your place that you live or your job or wherever it is that you're spending majority of your hours and not being able to get some fresh outside air, open a window, stick your head out, stand outside and take some purposeful breaths of fresh air. Okay? Observe and experience your surroundings. See the trees move with the wind. Hear the birds chirp. Watch the squirrels run around. Whatever it is, if you're by a body of water, watch how the water moves and flows and different things like that. Like, just be purposeful and intentional about being in the present moment. Ground yourself. Every time I'm in the presence of nature, and I'm not even really an outdoorsy type girl, okay? But no, recently, every time I'm around a body of water, or if I'm outside and I'm just like purposefully looking at outside, not looking on my phone, not anything like that, like just looking outside, it's a awe of God created this. God created these things. God knew all of it. Like he used his paintbrush and orchestrated and intricately put these things together and have them existing in this ecosystem. Like we're all here. Pay attention. Be purposeful. It's a way to pour into you. It's grounding yourself with reality because we get so caught up behind these screens and on social media and doing whatever, playing games or whatever. Like, be in the moment, in the present moment, and pay attention to your surroundings and just purposefully fill your lungs, fill up with some good air. Like, it's really good. I'm telling y'all, it helps. It helps. Pour into you. And the last thing I suggest is do something kind for yourself, something for you to look forward to by treating yourself to something you love. Eat good, take a bath, do an activity that brings you joy, okay? I take myself to the movies. I try to go once a week, if not once a week, once every other week or whatever. Go to the movies. Even if it's by yourself, it doesn't have to be a group activity. Pour into you. Take a bath. Learn how to relax your body and just like really soak and just rest. Put some good smell good candles on in the room. You could put some Epsom salt in the bath. Like just kind of like take care of you. Bubbles, whatever your thing is. You can listen to some soft music. Put you a glass of wine if that's your thing. Like whatever it is, do it for you. Pour into you. If it's a good meal, eat you a good meal, something that you've been craving or something that always gives you comfort, something that reminds you of good moments of your past or your present. Like, just do something for you. If you like doing makeup, put some makeup on, girl. I don't care if you ain't got nowhere to go but to the market, or you just going up the street to the kids with the park at the park, or you just going to drive to go pick up some food. Like whatever it is, make yourself feel good. Pour into you, okay? If you just want to get a nice pillow and a nice fluffy blanket and lay down on your couch and watch a show or listen to some music and just relax, do you. Pour into you. Uninterrupted time from the kids. Tell your spouse, tell your friend, whomever, drop them off with a family member. Look, I need a moment for me. I want to be by myself. I need to pour into me. Do that. Whatever that looks like. If that means you taking a nap, take a nap. Okay? Do it. Pour into yourself. Going to a painting class. I love to paint. Pour into yourself. Cooking. If that brings you peace, comfort, pour into yourself. Whatever that looks like for you, do you. Do you. Pour into you. So that is my suggestion for shining some light on life. And I hope that it helps you. And here's another thing to help you from me and my life coaching. Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Portia, your host of Lifin podcast and your life coach. I am here to help you along your healing journey with a few things you may be experiencing while seeking a life coach. Today's focus is a desire, which is a long-term well-being of oneself. Do you have the feelings of being stuck, overwhelmed, or uncertain about your future? Imagine having a trusted guide to help you navigate your journey to long-term well-being. A life coach can help you set clear and achievable goals and provide support and accountability you need to stay on track. Together, you will uncover your passions, identify your strengths, and create a personalized plan for lasting fulfillment. Sustainable mental and emotional health is the ultimate aim for those working with a life coach. So start your transformation today and take the steps to a more brighter and balanced future. Your best life awaits you while
Life be life in a song. Life be life in a song.
All right. This has been an amazing episode. Clink, 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 clink. We did a good job, y'all. It was emotional. It got a little too heavy for a moment. But it really wasn't. It was really amazing. I'm so glad to share this time with you all. And it helps me to be able to help you, and vice versa. As you are helped, it helps me. And so I'm just grateful. And that's the one thing, not the only one thing, but that's one of the major things that I can really take away from day to day. Like, I know God is using me for a greater purpose. I know that He is showing up and having me in these spaces and in these moments and enduring certain things so that I can learn and help other people. And I am so grateful to be a vessel. It is hard. It is heavy. It gets a little too much sometimes, but I know that the ultimate purpose is for the greater good, and therefore it makes me happy. As you can see my shirt, I am chosen. I am a chosen one. And being chosen does not mean that you have a light burden or a light assignment or whatever. Being chosen means that they think that you are responsible enough to carry this burden. You know how we used to want to be chosen when it come to playing dodgeball or kickball or anything that we were playing in school? Nobody wanted to be picked last, but we all wanted to be chosen and wanted to be on a specific team. I don't mind being chosen because I know that I'm great. I know that I'm athletic. I know that I can get the job done. I know that I can do the things. So choose me, pick me. And that's what I say to God every day. Thank you so much for choosing me. Thank you for picking me. I'm here. And even though it may seem a little heavy, sometimes it gets too heavy. My flesh gets weak. I still hold on to the hope that I have within Him. Period. Never failing, never not trusting, always, even if I don't understand the assignment initially, I get there, okay? So I hope that you all do too. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. I am so grateful to have these moments and to share them. And so we're going to move into our last segment, which is Speak Life. And this is the segment where I leave you with a call to action for yourself, but not just for you, but for me as well. So I'll leave you with these words to hold on to until next time. Today's Speak Life affirmation is, I am not hopeless. I am resilient. Again, today's Speak Life affirmation is, I am not hopeless. I am resilient. You heard it. You say it. You write it down and remind yourself to speak that thing and make it happen because life be life in us all. I love you all. You all have a wonderful day. Bye.